Welcome back to the Transplanting Podcast. My name is Bear, joined by the lovely Daphne with her Yoshi earrings.
They're Yoshi earrings this
Those are
time.
cute.
They are cute. Yes, and I got like 2 sets of them, and they're in there. So with the Yoshi earrings, like I wore them for a couple of reasons today. They had, I was talking to my kid earlier this week, right? And I don't normally get to talk with my kid, and so we're having this conversation, and I had given her this Yoshi doll. That's like the same one that I have, and so I told her every time that she hugs the Yoshi, like I can feel the Yoshi too. I know, super cute, right?
That is
So
cute.
it is. So I gave her this thing, and so when I was talking to her this week, she answers, she's like, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Good." And she goes, "Did you feel me hug my Yoshi this week?" And I'm like, "I've been feeling you hug the Yoshi." She's like, "I'm gonna run grab the Yoshi and do it." So went ahead and did it, and then I know, right?
My
But
heart.
then, just out of whatever, for the people that don't know, every time we go to start this, podcast, okay, I will get the audio and visual set, and we'll get ready to start, and I realize the camera's on the wrong thing, and so Bear will start this thing off, and he'll go, "Here we go, welcome to the podcast," and then I'll start, and you just hear me cut in.
And it sounds like Yoshi.
It sounds like Yoshi every time, and so we have to keep resetting it and do it again. So anyway, there's 2 reasons for a Yoshi earring, and then we didn't need the scream this time.
No.
Yeah, we got it. Anyway, okay. Welcome again to the podcast. I'm Daphne, and then I brought with me a special guest. Her name is Emma, and we met at Pride in Portland, and you were at a tent that was offering to discuss religion. It wasn't Christianity though; it was Judaism that you guys were discussing, right?
Right.
So I don't know a whole lot about Judaism, so I don't know. I had a couple thoughts today. I would love to hear your story. And just kind of have that conversation, but then I want to go into Judaism and how it intersects with I almost said intersects with Christianity, but that wouldn't be how it intersects with being trans and your story and how that all kind of works out.
Oh, sure. Sounds great.
Yeah. So I don't know. You want to share your story?
Sure. My name is Emma. I'm with Congregation Shir Tikva, and we were tabling for the congregation and for the East Side Jewish Commons, which is over on the east side of Portland. It's a space that was in the news recently because Kyle Bivens was just sentenced to, I believe, 5 years for attacking both our congregation and Congregation Beth Shalom in downtown Portland and an Islamic center. And he's also suspected of setting a house on fire that burnt to the ground.
Oh my God.
Belonged to a Jewish family here in Portland. And he used to be a reporter for the Willamette Weekly. So, anyways.
that took a big turn.
Yeah. So we were in the news this week past because it was his sentencing.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
anyways, but that's really not relevant to this podcast. But our center is a center for lots of Jewish organizations. And it actually is relevant because you may not know it, but right now we're right in the middle of High Holy Days. So
I don't know what
we're
that
literally
is.
like right in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And Rosh Hashanah is like the Jewish New Year.
Okay.
It's really kind of a harvest festival. It has its origins in sort of a harvest festival. And Yom Kippur is a day of atonement. So that's a day when we try to think about how to be better people. And we spend a whole day doing it. So anyways, but I'll tell you more about that later. You asked me about my story.
Your story, yeah.
So-
We'll start at the easy and we'll build into it.
Yeah. My name, like I said, my name is Emma. I've been out as a trans woman for, I don't know, about 20 years or
Just yesterday.
25 years now, maybe. I've always known that I was transgender, and I'm from Minnesota, so and I knew when I was a kid, I knew I was transgender. I remember growing up as a child and thinking that somehow magically when I reached adolescence that my body would just turn into a girl's body.
Right.
I mean, that's just what I magically believed. And
right.
I never really tried to explain to myself rationally why I believed that or how I believed it would happen, but that's just what I thought would happen to me. And I didn't really have a language for transgender identity growing up. I'm 55, so you know, when I was growing up in the 1970s, there wasn't much of a transgender community per se.
Right.
I remember the very first time I ever saw someone who was transgender on television. It was in the 1970s. There was this TV sitcom called The Jeffersons, and it was written by the same guy who wrote All in the Family.
Right.
And
this wasn't the cartoon.
No. And in this episode, there was a trans character. It was a black trans woman who had served in the military and then came back to see her friend, who was one of the main stars of the show. And I remember I was 7 or 8 years old at the time, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a transgender person on television. And I remember it so well. I mean, I remember the exact color of the dress she was wearing.
Oh, wow.
And I remember everything about that episode. And the reason I remember it is because, I mean, I remember for the first time in my life feeling like there was something there that I could see that reflected how I felt on the inside as a person.
Yeah.
So in college, I got involved in activism, and I really got organized. Well, at first, I did a lot of organizing with women's peace groups in college, and I got hooked up with the women's peace movement.
Wow.
Which was really big in the 1980s. It was in the 1980s. It was a time of like the women's peace camp, the anti-nuclear movement, and it was kind of the first generation, kind of after second wave feminism, and so I was really, really tied in with those groups. I mean, I got really involved in women's peace groups and in like the peace movement generally. And I also started to meet trans women for the first time. I mean, I remember when I was maybe 19 or 20, I met some trans people were having, they had a table at some kind of gathering I went to, and I met some trans women there. And, you know, it felt really nice. I mean, this was in the 80s, so it still wasn't, like in the 80s, the most you saw of trans people was kind of on like these talk shows that like were about kind of belittling trans women,
right,
and
making
kind of
fun of
presenting
them
as a spectacle.
Yes.
But there was the beginnings of kind of an active trans movement at that time. So, you know, trans people were starting to advocate for themselves. And I met a trans person when I was just out of college, and I really got to know her and her story. And that was what really gave me the confidence to transition myself. So her name was Maggie Osterberg, and I think you can still find her online. She's got still a media presence. Anyways, and that's when I started to have the confidence to transition. So that's kind of like my emergence.
Wow, it's interesting that like I feel so much in common with that, you know, because we were talking on the radio the other day. You had me on your show, and I had explained that part of my story was that it was a character on the TV, whatever, that it was Helen Hunt, whatever, in Twister, and then later on it was Keira Knightley, and that was the name I forgot the other day. But Keira Knightley, when she's wearing the corset, whatever, and that was the two things that really just stuck out to me, you know. And so hearing that it was another character for you on TV that made you go, hey, I connect with that. I like that I'm not the only one that's finding my space there.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. This was in the time before the internet, so
yeah,
this was when the only way and that's why the right is so insistent on trying to smother everything about our message and about who we are. You know, they're trying to shut down podcasts like yours because they're concerned that you are sharing your story, and they're afraid that will
grooming is the word, right?
It's not, though. It's liberation.
It is, but that's what they're using for the word.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who is not transgender will enjoy hearing your story and they'll move on with their life. If someone's transgender, it'll give them a chance to think about who they are.
Yeah, I love that. And then I also connected that, like, as you started to see more trans people in the media, that it was a spectacle. It was making fun. They're always on the street corner, getting picked up by the police or getting assaulted, or it's in a sitcom. The first one that I can think of, even though that wasn't trans, is Klinger and Mash, right? Where it was just cross-dressing, but at the same time, it was a spectacle. It was, we're going to laugh at this person that's doing this.
Part of what I like so much about this episode of The Jeffersons was that it was not that way at all. I mean, the character was presented with the full dignity and language that trans women were using in the late 70s to talk about themselves. And she talked about herself that way. She wasn't presented as a spectacle or as an oddity. She was presented as a fully dignified Black trans woman. And the whole show was about her explaining herself and her trans identity to George Jefferson, who was the main character in the show. It was so sensitive. I wish I could remember the name of the person who wrote those episodes, because he was just such a great writer. He wrote several really thought-provoking series back in the 70s, and this was just one of them.
I also like that it's George Jetson, because isn't George Jetson?
George Jefferson.
Oh, it's the Jetsons, not the Jeffersons. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a comic. Yeah,
I'm like, meet George Jefferson.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Right. I was like, oh my gosh, it happened twice.
I wonder if there are any trans or queer characters in the Jetsons. Maybe. Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe the robot, whatever, is...
the robot.
It's the mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's the future, so why not, right?
Well, of course. It is.
Yeah, fair enough. So you came out just after college then, and...
Yeah, when I was 30.
When you were 30.
Yeah, I came out.
So this would have been around 2000. The climate was still not...
It was starting to change. I mean, it was the beginning of podcasting.
Okay.
And, there was this podcast that originated in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And there were these two trans women who hosted this podcast. I'm going to try to remember their name someday. Because, oh my God, I listened to this podcast so faithfully. I wonder if it was Transponder, but I'm not sure. That may have been the name of the podcast.
Transistor.
But it was a great podcast. It was by these two trans women, and they were the first two trans women I knew who did a trans podcast. I mean, it was out of the Bay Area.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They produced for about 3 years, and they were actually really organized. They were really involved in organizing the first trans march in San Francisco, and they had this podcast. It was just incredible. I mean, now San Francisco. I had her on the show last year, but the president of San Francisco Pride is a trans woman. But back then, this was they organized the first trans march. Well, they didn't organize it themselves, but they were part of it, and they had this podcast that was just incredible. And they were doing trans podcasting and trans advocacy.
What did that look like?
25 years ago. It was amazing. I mean, it was hard getting, the show at that time, because it was still sometimes when you were on the internet, you were on a BBS thing.
It's hiding in the porn sites.
Sometimes you were on, yeah, and so you had to figure out how to get it uploaded. And there weren't smartphones yet,
right.
So this was the time before smartphones. So you had to transfer it to an MP3 player if you wanted to listen to it when you were outside, or you could listen on your computer at home. But it was, the content was so good. It's still, and I think one of them is from Portland. I can't remember which one, and I don't know what they're doing nowadays. I mean, but they were a huge inspiration.
I would love to get them on the podcast.
It was really interesting because at the same time, so at this time in 2000 when I lived in Tennessee, and Susan Larson is from Tennessee as well. She's from Clarksville, Tennessee. Although at that time I didn't know her as Susan, I knew her by her dead name, and she wasn't out, but Susan Larson was originally from Clarksville, Tennessee, where my sister and I lived. We lived in Nashville for about 15 years.
Right.
And I met Susan before she came out, and I didn't even know that she was trans, but she had already been running Susan's Place for 15 years.
Oh yeah.
And she just came out like about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. Like, she ran Susan's Place for like 30 or 35 years, and Susan's Place goes all the way back.
Yeah.
I asked her, like, I had her on the show once, and I asked her, like, how did you do Susan's Place? I need to hook you up with her so you can have her on your show.
I would love that.
She's just so amazing, an amazing person. For me, she's like as important as any of the kind of iconic figures of our generation, Sarah McBride or Aaron Reed or you or anyone.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, she's an iconic person who's really who at the time used what she understood and was able to network trans women when nobody else could do it. There was no place else to go. You would go to this, it's like, it was set up like a BBS, like a bulletin board system, which is how, all the way from back in the 80s, that's how people did computer stuff back then. This was like right before Usenet and IRC, when people were still doing BBCs. And this is how she set up Susan's Place. And over the years it evolved. But it still kind of retained that Usenet kind of quality to it. Even to this day, it still kind of has that quality.
Yeah.
So
is it still going?
Yeah, as far as I know, she was kind of having, she transitioned about 5 years ago, and one of the people who she had helped for all those years with the resources that were available at Susan's Place. I mean, this is a site that's had like over 30 million visitors, unique visitors over the last 30 or 40 years that's existed. And, before the internet was a huge thing and before we had all the stuff that we have now, I mean, basically everybody went to Susan's Place. It was totally underground. And so one of the people who used that actually paid for her transition. And so she went to Asia and had everything done there and came back.
Right.
And after she came out, she started to kind of pull back a little bit from all of the really hard work she'd been doing in Susan's Place because, technology changes and now everybody's online and there's a lot more trans podcasters and trans stuff happening. And so it wasn't as necessary. As far as I know, it's still going though.
For the listener that doesn't know, can you explain what Susie's Place is?
Susan's Place is a website. For about 20 years or so, it was like literally the only place to go. It was the place to go like in the 90s and in the early 2000s if you were trans. You could get your questions answered about hormones. You could find out where to buy hormones on the black market if you needed them.
Oh, wow.
It was a great place to go to find connections about surgeons and who is doing surgery, about advocacy, about etiquette.
Right.
There was everything there to support you as a trans woman, and everything was resource. It was all, I'm not sure what the word is, but it's like community run.
Yeah.
So basically everybody in the community who wanted to help support communication between the trans community, they would, be able to share their skills and their experience and have a role in the website. And so, and Susan ran the whole thing out of her house on like a bunch of servers, kind of like you're doing here with this amazing podcast.
Oh, thank you. You're sweet. Yeah. I find that so Reddit has been one of the places where I've found a lot of that information. There's a Reddit sub-channel specific for trans surgeries, and it's, to my knowledge, you know which one I'm talking about. Yeah. To my knowledge, it is the largest one in the world at this point, where it has every doctor, it has every piece of information you could look for, and I've loved it. It's been a great source of information.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you came out around 2000. Things are starting to get better, but you're in Tennessee.
Yeah, I was in Tennessee.
So how does that work out for you?
I told my sister and I told my partner that I was trans, and they were both super supportive. They were so supportive. I was so lucky to have, these two people who in my life who just really were there for me.
Yeah.
And, I told them that I wanted to move to Oregon because, part of what it was I had learned from listening to Transponder, but also just by the time it was 2010, in the mid 2000s, I knew that Portland was a really safe place for the trans community.
Yes.
It already had a huge reputation even like 20 years ago, as a safe haven for the trans community. So I told them that I wanted to move to Oregon because we had Basic Rights Oregon, we had, we had rights already secured, and more rights coming in for the trans community. So, I talked them both into it, and they both agreed to come.
Oh, they came with you?
Yeah, they both did. Yeah.
Wow,
and so we've been here ever since.
She's here with you.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
my sister's here now. Yeah.
I'm over here just totally spacing. She's here with us in the
And I finished,
studio.
when I came here, I was able to get the resources to have like my surgeries and everything that I still hadn't really had access to in Tennessee. And in Tennessee, I was getting my hormones on the black market. So
yeah.
Yeah, and insurance here has been great. It's just, it's not any different from having any other medical procedure. I mean, people have all kinds of medical procedures all the time. They get broken bones fixed,
Yeah.
I mean, people have just all kinds of surgeries. I mean, the kinds of surgeries that transgender people go through are just pretty minor. They're just another kind of surgery.
Yeah, well,
That's
and a
all
lot
they
of
are.
cis people are already getting the same
Yeah,
surgeries, so it's
exactly.
not like it's some unheard thing.
Yeah, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
feel
really
that.
nice though.
So when everything kind of goes to hell here, I'm totally coming to you for the black market drugs, and we'll get this worked out.
Okay. Maybe I shouldn't say that. It was a long time ago. It was over 20 years ago. So 25 years
Now
ago.
it's the gray market. Okay. So you come here to Portland. Now, you had a radio show now and if I remember right, when we met, you've been doing that for, was it almost 20 years now?
No, we've been doing Transpositive for 10 years.
10 years.
So, yeah.
Okay. So how do you get into starting a podcast radio show?
It came out of the organizing around the first Portland Trans March. It wasn't actually the first. I need to correct that. It was the first one we'd had in a number of years. Portland had a Trans March a long time ago, but the problem was that we were doing the march in like a historically black neighborhood, and the march was really insensitive to the needs of the people in that community. And so for a while, the march went dormant for a number of years. And then it got we kind of got the energy to pick it up again. Some organizers down at the Q Center, who are still pretty deeply involved with Greater Portland Trans Unity and with the trans community. They got together and said, let's have another trans march, but this time let's do it downtown, and let's do it kind of the same way that we do the Dyke March. And so
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, the Dyke March happens on Saturday night.
Do they call it that?
Pride. Yeah, it's the Dyke March. Yeah.
They just own it.
Yeah, they do. And
I
it's
love
been
that.
going on, the Dyke March has been going on a long time, like 20, 25 years.
Okay.
So, anyways, the folks who organized the Portland Trans March, it created this just kind of explosion of trans activism in Portland. That year was 2014. And I was really inspired at the time too. And so there were actually two people I met organizing for the Trans March. And I asked them if they wanted to help do a radio show at KBOO, because I already knew some people at KBOO, and it's pretty easy to get a show over there. So we started.
Hand them out like candy. You get a show, and
They
you get
kinda
a
do.
show.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. And so we put in a request for a show. And our first guest was, what's her name? Gender Outlaw. Oh my gosh, I'm 55. I must be. Kate Bornstein. Kate Bornstein was our very first guest.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You just, and it sounds like you've had some really big names on your podcast since then.
Yeah.
Or I keep saying it's radio show.
Radio show,
not a podcast.
Yeah, we've done so many. I am not sure how many shows we've had now. I mean, it's every other week, so every other week for 10 years. Yeah, we had
that's all.
Kate Bornstein was a significant person. Julia Serrano we had on really early. We had a lot of people who are sort of like bigger names in like the 2010s. We tended to, after the first couple of years, we tend to really focus a lot more on what's going on locally. So we try to get a lot of local people on and just really kind of talk about what's going on locally. So, and not so much like the national people. We have a lot of authors now. We kind of tend to specialize in authors, and lecturers, and kind of activists, politicians.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's not like it's not like a big name kind of podcast. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of more local.
So
And
when you're
kinda-
bringing in politicians, are these are trans politicians, or these are just politicians talking about trans rights?
We've had people who are Oregon politicians who support trans rights. Yeah, it doesn't always have to be. Yeah, actually it's very. I mean, we have had trans politicians on from Lincoln City. We had Claire Hall on before.
Wow.
Um,
We interviewed a politician last week, Brittany Jones.
Brittany Jones.
Yeah, I should send her over your way.
sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you come here, you started the radio show, you're building the community, you're just being super active in women's rights and trans rights.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's an amazing story though, because a lot of people they come out and then especially because of political climate, they decide to just hide and just, try to protect themselves.
Yeah.
So to go put yourself out there, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I kind of feel like, it's KBOO, so it's community radio. So I'm not sure. It's like, I mean, it's really fun, and I think that it's really important, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't think people listen to radio that much anymore. And so, I mean, I wish it was a really big deal, but I think it's kind of more like, it's just, it's one of those things, it's one of those things you might catch. And if you do, you might hear something that you find interesting.
I mean, there's internet radio. Are you guys
Yeah,
looking
there's
at something like that?
Oh yeah, we're online too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
the show's streamed live.
And
as
that's
part
just
the
off the
KBOO
KBOO
stream.
site, or is it on the
I don't know.
transpositive
Maybe
one?
I've just become desensitized. I mean, it's like I remember. I don't know. Like, do you remember when you first came out? Like,
Yes.
Like, well, I don't know. It's different for everyone, but like
Okay.
at first, it's so scary.
Yes.
You're just like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You're just like completely freaking out in your head.
Yes.
And it's like that's kind of how it is when you first start doing this kind of media, like you're doing.
Yes.
Like at first, you kind of freak out. Like you think, oh, it's, something's going to happen, and then nothing happens.
You're worried about your safety.
And people, you worry about your safety, and then nothing happens, and people. I mean, I've been in roles in my life where it has been really, really dangerous. I mean, I've run for office, and when I ran for office, I've gotten death threats, and that's about the scariest it's ever been in my life.
Yeah.
But I've never had anything scary or dangerous or uncomfortable happen to me as a radio producer. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm naive to what actually kind of role that is, taking out in the society.
Yeah.
But I've never had any problems. So I don't know. I feel confident.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, when we were getting ready to start this one, this is a big conversation that Bear and I had several times we were talking about it, and I go, this is really going to put us out there as, the podcast is about all things trans, so putting us
Yeah.
out there as the face of all things trans.
Oh, totally.
When neither of us identify that way, it was a scary thing, and both of us had a conversation about, are we sure this is really what we want
I
to
know.
do?
It's a big deal because you both have, I mean, you'll have to excuse my own interpretation, but I think you both have what's sometimes called passing privilege. I mean, you both seem
Aw,
to,
thank
to
you.
me anyways.
Thanks.
And so, like, if you go out into society, not that that's a thing that should be strived for, because there's all different ways of being expressive. But,
Yes.
the fact that you're coming out and talking about this issue means that people are publicly identifying you.
Yes, and that was you wanted to say something?
Oh, no, I was just going to share that I have never been targeted or
Right.
bullied or nothing.
Yeah.
I do feel grateful and pretty blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think I have had one of the most fantastic transitions.
That's great. Yeah.
Like everything
I
with
really
you has
do.
just been smooth sailing.
Yeah, all of it. All of it. I haven't had any difficulties or
Yeah.
anything. And it's just, I feel really blessed. But, man, my heart sure goes out to others who definitely, find those struggles and those roadblocks. And,
Yeah.
but, no, wow, I haven't really thought about that for a long time. Like, how long have I, been out? I don't, my whole life, really. I've just never had, I had a great, supportive family. I had, a lot of supportive friends. I was always charismatic, in my high school, and I just never had any problems. And so I think, being on a podcast like this, I think it's peril that, people listen to all these stories, messages, advocacy, resources, etc. And I think it's peril right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Like when Bear and I first met up, we went to karaoke. He was
karaoke.
there singing. He's kicking ass singing these songs. He's just rocking it out. And I go kind of sit by myself a little off, and he goes, "Hey, come on, girl, come sit by me." So he invites me over to the table. We're just having a great time, having a great conversation, just really enjoying it. And then there was something on my phone, or
it was on your phone. You had left a group open on Facebook, and that's when I saw what group you were a part of, and I was like, oh.
yeah, there was a trans flag or something on the identity of it.
But at the same time, I just thought, oh, this is an ally. Hey, that's cool. Hey, good for her. And I just thought you were an athlete. I thought you were a basketball player. I thought you were, anything but trans.
Right. Well, and then so we got talking about it, and you leaned over. You're like, "Hey, do you mind if I ask? Are you trans?"
Poor Daphne. She's over here like, "Oh, is that okay?
How can you tell? How can you tell?
It's like, well, your phone was open, and then I just leaned across. I'm like, it's okay, I am too. And then that was it.
Shocked the hell out of both of us. Neither of us saw that coming.
Yeah, that's a cute story.
That's a great story. I love that.
Yeah. That's kind of I don't
Maybe
know.
she was trans because of what was on her phone.
And honestly, I thought ally first. I thought this was an athlete and just an ally, and had a pretty good voice too.
Yeah.
So you can sit at my table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now we got this like theme song between the two of
Oh
us.
my
Stupid me. I went and wrote this theme song. So me and Bear will be going down the road. We're Bear and Daphne.
Oh, that's great. I love
Glitter
that.
and flannel.
Yeah, I don't know. It's dumb, but we like it.
No,
like
that's
it.
great.
Yeah.
You should do something with that. Make
Like
it
what?
an opening song.
We've talked about it. Bear kind of threw it out, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I would do it or not.
No. Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe intermission song or something.
Enjoy
have
while we sing about
intermissions.
ourselves.
Tell me you're conceited without telling me you're conceited. Bear and Daphne, it's
Oh
all
my
about
God.
us.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and shift lanes a little bit here.
Sure.
We met at a tent about Judaism. Were
Right.
you always... do I say Jewish? Is that the right way to say this? Or what's respectful?
Yeah, Jewish. Yeah, are you Jewish? That's a good way to say it. Are you Jewish? Yeah.
Okay. I feel
mean-
like it's turned almost into a slur at some points, and so I don't want to be, I want to be...
Judaism is part of,
Ooh.
like a lot of
No,
Jews.
that
I mean, Judaism is part of my heritage,
Mm.
but it's not something that I really actively engaged with until I was in my 40s.
Oh, wow.
When I was in my 40s, I decided that I wanted to explore my Jewish heritage a little bit. And so I met a rabbi here in Portland, and I got involved in a synagogue. I'm an atheist, by the way. So,
How does that work?
oh, it's not a problem. It's really easy if you're Jewish.
What?
Yeah, no, that's just the truth. I know. Sorry.
I don't even understand that.
Oh, that's okay. We can get into it.
I would love to hear about that, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how about this? So Judaism, is it religion or heritage?
It's both. Judaism is both a culture and a religion.
How do you separate them?
You don't really. I mean, they're so intertwined. It's hard.
So how do you have a religion that is Jewish and be atheist?
Oh, that's not a problem. Why would it be a problem?
That doesn't make sense to me. That's like being Christian and atheist.
You could be Christian and atheist too, yeah.
Can you?
Well, I think so. I mean, if you're raised in a culture where you're indoctrinated into all of the language of your culture, and that's like part of how people communicate with each other, it's kind of hard to avoid. I mean, it becomes kind of this dominant identity. Now, being Jewish and being atheist is a little different. I mean, For me, being Jewish and atheist is, I think it's really it's different from being Christian and atheist. I mean, it's different. But to explain that, I have to explain what Judaism is. So, and that's a long conversation. I mean,
Can we have part of that conversation? Because like
we could have some
we-
of it,
we-
yeah.
Or at least try to summarize key points.
because
Yeah.
like we
Well, so okay, yeah. So let me just do it in a really simple way. Like, so actually, this is good for me because I have to think about how to talk about this.
we're
sort of
grading
thing.
you on this.
Well, I'm giving a devar for Yom Kippur, and that's
that was French to me.
Yom Kippur is it's the holiest day of the year in Judaism.
What's
And it's-
Devar?
A devar is like it's like a sermon. It's like
Okay.
a Christian version of a sermon. It's you give us you get up and you talk
Okay.
in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And you talk about whatever the reading is.
Okay.
And anyways, but so I've been doing a lot of studying for this devar, and I remember and so as part of the studying, I was looking back at the text. So Judaism is very text-based. It's very much based on the ancient writings. It's based on the Torah, it's based on the Torah, the Tanakh, the Talmud, which is the Talmud is kind of commentary on the Torah, and the Mishnah and the Gemara. So these are all books that are sort of commentaries on the Torah. For Christians, they would understand the Torah as the first 5 books of the Old Testament. So that's what you would think of as the Torah. But in Judaism, the Torah is something very different. In Judaism, the Torah is, it's not the same, but some of it's the same. But the Torah is absolutely central to Jewish identity. And the way that we read the Torah in Judaism, the Torah is like, it's a scroll.
Yes.
And so we roll it out, and it's in Hebrew. And you just read like one part of it at a time.
Can you read Hebrew?
A little bit, not much.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I did preparation for this a month ago. I went down to the synagogue and kind of walked in, and I asked a ton of questions, but the poor lady
great.
had to deal with me. So I was asking a lot of questions because I know nothing about Judaism, really, other than whatever we read in the Bible. So outside of that, I really know nothing about it. And she kind of gave me a tour of the place, and we walked into the library. And I, there's a lot of books, and I was asking her. I said, "What is this?" And she says, "Well, that's our scripture right there." And there, I swear to God, there was 45 volumes of the,
That's the Talmud. Well,
that's the Talmud.
Well, no, I'm not sure which one you were looking at. Yeah.
They were. I don't know. The books were all like this, and there was like
there's
40
a
of
lot
them.
books, yeah.
And I opened it up, and there might have been some other writings on it, but I thought it was in English, and then there was like a square in the center of it, so the writings like went around the square.
Yeah, that's the
You know what I'm
Talmud.
talking about?
Yeah, that's the Talmud. You were looking at the Talmud, yeah.
That's a lot of writing.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly how many tractates there are in the Talmud, but it's about 40 something.
Yeah, I was
The
surprised.
Talmud is like the internet of its era. So the Talmud was like the rabbis of Eastern Europe in the Middle Ages, basically.
Yeah.
From like the really, really late antiquity to the really early kind of Middle Ages, like the 7th century to like the 15th century. And they used to have these things called yeshivas. Well, we still do have yeshivas. But the rabbis who taught at these yeshivas, which were like religious schools for boys, not all of them were in yeshivas, but they would write back and forth to each other and try to make sense of the Torah and talk about, well, what do you do in this situation if the Torah says, like, don't gather a bushel of wood on Shabbat? How far away do you have to be before you don't have to observe the mitzvot anymore? And so it's like, it's a lot of questions. It's basically Judaism trying to grapple with Greek ideas, because Christianity was so dominant by the 7th century in Europe that it kind of shaped the culture of everything surrounding Judaism. See, the thing that you have to understand about Judaism is that it's really, really old. I mean, it goes all the way back to the time of the Levant. It goes back to like kind of the origins of Western culture. it's not quite that old. I mean, when you look at the origins of Western culture and you think about like the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Fertile Crescent, where the ziggurats were first built.
Okay.
You know, when Western civilization, kind of as we understand it, began to emerge, not all of culture, because I'm not even talking about, you know, China, which had kind of a parallel emergence around the same time, but Western culture as it began to emerge in the Levant, in Sumeria and Acadia and Babylon, Judaism was right on the tail end of that. You know, so this is something that came really early in our history and the development of our culture, the Western culture that we unfortunately have inherited. And so Judaism is the first attempts by a certain group of people to try to wrestle with an idea of like a monotheistic God. So at the time, and in some ways it's really terrible because it's also a time when there's a lot of suppression of like pagan and goddess worshiping cultures, even within the tradition of Judaism itself. But it's a time when people are beginning to wrestle with the idea of monotheism, and they're deciding that monotheism is a certain kind of tradition for them. So, you know, that's kind of how Judaism began.
Okay.
And it began like, you know, a long, long time before Christianity. But it's, you know, Judaism is like a source religion for Christianity and for Islam. They're very similar. I mean, there's actually not a lot. Anyways, I wanted to get to your thing, how can you be an atheist and also be a Jew? And so there's this story in the Talmud where somebody is coming. I can't remember if it's Rabbi Hillel. I think it's Rabbi Hillel. Maybe Rabbi, I think it's, I'll probably get this wrong, but so there's a scholar. No, there's not a scholar, there's a convert. It's a convert. And this is when the temple was still around.
Okay.
And he wants to convert to Judaism, but he wants to do it really quick. Like he doesn't, you know, so he comes to Rabbi Hillel and he says, you know, teach me the entire Torah while I'm standing on 1 foot. And so Rabbi Hillel thinks and he says, you know, treat your neighbor as yourself. Treat your neighbor as you would like to be treated. This is the essence of Torah. Everything else is commentary. Now go and learn. So this is what he said to this person. And it was... Should I stop for a minute?
We got...
Every time.
I swear, every time we're in here, the dogs go.
Or should I just keep on going?
You can just keep going.
Okay. So that's, you know, he says that, and it's basically, it means to be kind. It means to exercise kindness, to be compassionate. And most of Judaism is about trying to be compassionate, trying to be a good person, trying to be an ethical human being. Now, I can't say anything positive about the state of Israel right now. Israel is committing an act of genocide.
Okay.
There's nothing else that I can say other than the state of Israel is committing genocide. They're intentionally starving the Palestinian people, and it's absolutely horrifying. And it's abhorrent to me. It's abhorrent to everything that I believe in, but I don't have any control over that. That's on the other side of the world. I live in the United States. I mean, I wish the United States wouldn't give Israel money because the United States is contributing to the genocide of the Palestinian people. But that's not the same thing as Judaism. Judaism is, you know, at its best, it's an ethical system. It's a way of navigating in the world and trying to be an ethical human being.
So I had a couple questions that kind of popped up out of what you said. How strict is Judaism? Because you said it's something about you're not allowed to gather a bushel of wood necessarily on Sabbath, right?
Yeah,
Shabbat.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to gather just a little bit less than a bushel? Like,
No,
what's the...
That's
you can do a quarter bushel? Like, is there assignment
that was-
325 bricks is a bushel?
Yeah. No, that was like in, you know, back when that's how people got their fire, was from firewood, gathering it out. So this is a conversation from the Middle Ages. So just like we don't talk about whether or not to do something that somebody said in the Middle Ages, you know, as if that's what we need to do now.
Okay.
It's the same
makes
thing
sense.
in Judaism, but we still look back at it, we read it. Sometimes there's, so one of the things that we do with some of these texts is we actually use them to help create a new understanding of how to see ourselves. And one of the really neat things about Judaism is that Judaism actually preserves a record of trying to understand intersex identities and trans identities.
How so?
It's in the Talmud. Within the Talmud, there's commentaries and there's discussion about both intersex identity and trans identities. And the conversations that are preserved in the Talmud about what do we do in this situation, what do we do in that situation, even though there's not many, but there's enough to actually, look at our history and say, oh, hey, there's people back then who saw this and looked at it with compassion and understood that we have to look at people who are different with compassion and try to make accommodations for that community. And that's part of why I think Judaism part of why I came to Judaism, honestly, was because it was a really safe place for me as a trans person. Judaism was a super, super safe place for me to be. It was super affirming, and there was really active community, and there was advocacy, and it was a place I was really able to step right into.
So that gives me two more questions, right?
Great.
So
I love questions.
Yeah, and you're doing great. The Torah is, under my understanding, Torah is the first 5 books of the Bible, right? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and then it stops there. Is that correct?
Well, the Torah is central to Jewish identity. So it's
right.
Not just the first 5. The Torah is like in and of itself really the essence of the religion. And the Torah is really, it's set aside. We treat the Torah with a certain kind of reverence that like Christians don't really treat the Old Testament. The closest analogy I can think of is that, well, I'm not going to try to create an analogy for that. It's just the Torah is absolutely fundamental and central to Jewish identity.
Okay. Because then I was going to ask if it's the same as
it's kind
the
of like
5 books, then I can't think of any writings in there that really break down into how trans people fit into that.
Yeah.
And so then if you have a Talmud that's breaking down that, coming up with
well, the Talmud talks about a lot of other things too, not just what's in the Torah, but you kind of have to understand like how Judaism works. Judaism doesn't just lock itself into the past and say, oh, this is our core text and we're going to stay with this for all of time.
Okay.
There's a certain element of Judaism that does that, but it also looks at the core text and it just kind of expands it.
Okay.
In the same way, like you remember how our discussion earlier, we were talking about Susan's Place.
Yes.
And how Susan's Place started with BBS. And then it kind of expanded a little bit, and it was more like Usenet and more like IRC, and then it became more hypermedia.
Right.
And then at some point it became kind of overrun by all of the innovations in the internet.
Updating with the time.
Yeah, and Judaism has done the same thing. It's never stayed static, and it's always kind of moved with the time. It's not just moved, but it's grown. And so it's created all of this layering on top of it, just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And so now, after like 2,500, 3,000 years of scholarship and of commentary and of practice, it's evolved a whole kind of set of understandings about the world that are rooted in what we kind of understand that, people 500 or 1,000 years ago thought about the world, like what they thought the world was and what it meant and how to live. And we've continued to interpret that, for our lives today. So, and we've built on the interpretations, the understandings of the generations who have come before us too. So it's not stuck there. It holds that in really high regard because it's just like a point of origin.
Yeah.
So it's so different from just a text. It's almost like a place.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it's this whole thing. It's really complicated.
Does that go for all denominations, like such as Orthodox, like?
Well, they're all we all see each other as Jews. Yeah.
Okay. Are you all on the same page?
They're all different, though. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's all the congregations are affirming to trans people?
No, not all of them. No.
So back in the Bible, right, during the first however many books, and all the way through it, they had prophets, right, that were, at least through the Old Testament, there's these prophets that are leading the Jewish people
Yeah.
according to the text, right? So do you guys believe in prophets? Is that because my thought process with this is if you guys are updating, how are you guys updating? Because is there a prophet that's sitting here updating everything, saying, hey, here's where we're going to go next, here's how things are updating now? How are you guys updating?
The way that Judaism moved forward, so the idea of the prophets was something that was part of the original texts that were written. So there were the writings of the prophets, there was the Torah, and then there was the what was it, like the Psalms and those kind of other. There's just a rambling of other texts that are in the Tanakh. The Tanakh is kind of like what you call the Old Testament.
There's like 18 books that I've never heard of.
Yeah, and most of that, like by the time the first temple and the second temples were built in Israel, which is like 500 BC or so, like by the time that the second temple was built, and there was like, I think it was around the time of the Maccabees, like they kind of stopped doing that kind of writing. And Judaism really fully transitioned after Israel was destroyed by the Romans.
Right.
And it switched over to a rabbinic system. And so ever since then, like when you talk about like who's the prophets or whatever, it's like there's both people who kind of have provided extraordinary commentary on the Torah, or who have sort of been extraordinary leaders who from time to time have kind of risen up within the culture to kind of be considered significant. But otherwise it's mostly been a religion that's really rooted in like the rabbinic process. I mean, until the creation of the state of Israel, even now it's really rooted in that like rabbinic tradition. So those are the people.
Wow. That's a lot because I don't know, in my head, if you don't have that leader, I mean, there is a leader,
we don't have
right?
a pope or anything.
You don't have a pope.
No, not really. We don't really have, we don't have leaders in that same sense. Like there's no there's no like centralized, this is the main person in charge kind of thing.
Right.
It's very, part of that's because Judaism has had to survive in the shadow of Christianity for like 2,000 years.
That's fair.
And so Judaism has always been a religion that both within Christian Europe and for a long time within Islam too, has always been a minority religion. And so it's always had to learn how to survive as a minority space within, dominant cultures. And so most of what Jewish identity has been is what we call diaspora, which is, it's a religion that's had to learn how to survive very autonomously, and very much regionally. And so the kind of agreements that are made between Jewish communities all around the world had to do with survival and also with trying to keep some sort of consistency. So, but for a long time, diaspora really shaped Jewish identity. That's part of why, I think that what's going on right now in Israel is just, it's such a disaster. I just don't understand how anyone who lives in Israel or anybody who lives in the U.S. right now couldn't look at what they're seeing right now and not see what happened in the Holocaust just, 3 generations ago. Because to me, it's like another kind of genocide. It's just another kind of genocide, just like the genocide in Rwanda, just like the genocide that happened to the Ottomans in, before World War I.
Right.
Just like the genocide that happened to the Jews. That's another genocide, and it's really, really horrible. And I don't understand what people are thinking.
Yeah. Well, and World War I, right?
But on the other hand, I don't understand how people could, how many people did Americans kill in Vietnam? Like 2 million. Mm-hmm. We killed like 2 million Vietnamese during the Vietnamese War. Look at the massacre of My Lai. Look at the kind of horrifying things that this country has done. I understand how a country can commit horrible acts of not. I don't think the United States has committed genocide. Well, unless you count Native Americans, unless you count the native peoples of this country.
Yeah.
I think that if you talk to I shouldn't speak for Native people. If you ask a Native person if the United States has committed genocide, I'd really be interested to hear what they say. So, not to say that justifies anything Israel's doing. It doesn't justify it at all. It just equates Israel as like another horrible country that's doing horrible things. But to me, that's not the same. It's just not the same thing for me. I mean, it's not. I can't say that it's not the same. I can say that it's, I'm in the United States. I've never supported what's going on in Israel, and so I don't know. That's just me.
Fair enough.
It's my voice is kind of a minor. It's the voice of a lot of younger Jews. I mean, a lot of younger Jews really are just incredibly offended and disturbed by what's going on in Israel. I mean, in the United States. I'm not sure what's going on in Israel because I don't really talk to Israeli Jews.
Fair enough. So Judaism is something that you can join then, since it's both culture and religion?
Yeah, you can become a convert. You can join Judaism, yeah.
What does that process look like?
You have to meet with a rabbi. In Portland, you meet with a rabbi. You take some classes. You decide if you want to join a Jewish community. It's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you just kind of learn about Jewish tradition.
It's like a 3-week process. You walk in and you're there.
No, it takes a few months. I mean, you have to learn and study a little bit. I mean, you have to understand what you're joining.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the same as any religion. I mean, there's a way you can become engaged in it.
So trans person, oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, is that process welcoming to trans individuals?
Yeah, I mean, in Portland it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There might be some synagogues in Portland that aren't. I mean, every synagogue I know is like super trans affirming. I mean, our synagogue is mostly queer and trans people. That's like not quite the majority, but it's like almost it's like the most significant minority within the synagogue. I mean, I don't even know how many queer and trans people there are in our synagogue. We're full of them. I mean, almost everybody. It seems to me like almost everybody in my synagogue is queer or trans.
Okay, so yeah, sounds like extremely welcoming and just
Yeah.
okay,
so.
great. So with I guess again, I know nothing about Judaism.
Yeah.
I just don't. But are there Jewish rituals or life events that have adapted to be inclusive to transgender individuals?
We actually try to create our own rituals. That's a big part of Judaism, is that as time goes on, and there's new changes and innovations and how people see themselves, we like create new rituals for that. I mean, and so so here in Portland we actually have, we're really lucky to have, I think 2, maybe 3 transgender rabbis in Portland, and rabbis are really involved in creating halakha. Halakha is like Jewish, it's like it's like Jewish sacred space, Jewish law. It's like the way to do things in a way that's understandable as a Jew. And yeah, we have, I mean, I did a couple of rituals for my transition. I mean, I did a mikvah, and I did another mikvah when I had surgery. So
that's sweet.
Yeah, and it was nice. I mean, people from my community gather. We gather and we support someone, and they just, say some positive things about being transgender, or if they're religious about being Jewish, and they kind of do a ritual. Yeah, there's a whole process. There's an entire committee of people like from around the country, trans Jews, who are involved in something called the Trans Halakha Project, which is to create meaningful Jewish rituals for transgender people, and it's all being created by trans Jews, mostly trans rabbis. There's like a transgender Talmud group. There's an entire movement within Judaism called Svara. It means like moral intuition, and it's almost everybody in this part of Jewish expression is almost entirely queer or trans, and these are also people who are kind of like super nerdy Jews who are really into like the kind of ritual and the language and the history and the tradition of Judaism. So that's a big part of.
I'm curious what Jewish Dungeons and Dragons is.
That would be interesting. Yeah, yeah. I've never been part of that.
My mind just melted. But I know
I
who
threw you off with that one.
I know who my next character is going to be.
Okay, so trans person wants to find a community that is affirming. I had the word, but I just forgot. Congregation wants to find a congregation that is affirming, because we know not every one of them is. Is there things that they can specifically ask without putting themselves in danger? Or, I mean, maybe danger is not the right word, but they can find out about stuff like that without necessarily putting them in an uncomfortable space?
You'll have to ask me more. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Sometimes when a queer person wants to go to a Christian church, right? They want to go and they kind of want to feel it out and see how it is. But when you go to a church like this one has a trans flag, pride flag on the front of the church. It's flying, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But not every other place has a trans flag flying. And so sometimes you go walking into a place and you don't know if you're accepted or not. And a lot of
Yeah.
Christians are very hateful
Right.
to the queer community. And so you walk into these places, you don't always know where they're at. And sometimes if you go in, you're asking, hey, how are you with the queer community? Now you're starting to out yourself,
Right,
you know.
right, yeah.
So is there a way that
I mean, it's not that more. It's not much more complicated than with Christian. Like, so if you're Christian, and you want to go to, I know this because I helped to organize the Transgender Day of Remembrance Interfaith Vigil, and so I've had a chance to work with like the whole spectrum of churches,
Right.
and plus, you know, I mean, I understand my culture pretty well, including Christian culture. I mean, so if you're looking around, I mean, you know, if you're looking around for a Christian something to join, almost anywhere in the United States, you pretty much know that you can go to the Unitarians. You'll always be welcome at almost any Unitarian church, even in the South.
some of the Lutheran ones,
Some Lutheran,
Methodist?
yeah, some Methodist. Generally speaking, the Protestant ones from like,
And Episcopal.
yeah. I mean, not all Protestant ones, but you pretty much know you're not going to be welcome in almost any Catholic church, except there are a couple of affirming Catholic churches.
There are.
There's one actually right here in Portland.
Yes.
But generally, you're not really going to be accepted in a Catholic church. I mean, I should say not. You know, the Catholics, that's different. I mean, I've had a chance to talk to Catholics. I can't speak for all Catholics. I mean, I think that there's a way in which transgender people can participate in Catholicism, but not really be accepted.
But
Maybe it's the same way with the Mormons. I don't know.
I
mean, is there a way you
Mormonism
can
is a
sort of-
totally different
you
mess.
can be Mormon, but not really be accepted as trans, as long as you're sort of like not. out
It's also
about it
going to
or
be the same
something.
thing, kind of depends on where. So
Yeah.
I've been to some congregations here in Portland and
Yeah.
Salem where they were accepting whatever, but when it comes to actually participating within the church, it's hard. It's hard, and a
Yeah.
lot of it isn't accepting towards trans people. So
I mean, but
and
within Judaism, it's mostly going to be like Reform, Reconstruction, a lot of times non-affiliated. I mean, these are kind of be the ones that you'll really be accepted in. Sometimes conservative,
yeah.
probably not Orthodox, and definitely not like ultra-Orthodox.
So, but if a trans person they want to go to a Jewish synagogue, they want to check it out, and they want to be affirmed. Even maybe they're curious about joining.
Yeah.
Is there a way they can find out that they're okay in that congregation without putting themselves in a uncomfortable position?
I mean, if you do some research, you'll pretty much know.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to research. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to find out. And, you know, like I said, I mean, if you go to a Reform, Reconstruction synagogue, a Renewal synagogue, you'll pretty much, these are movements within Judaism.
Okay.
You'll pretty much always be accepted.
Will it say that, like on the front of it, Reformed Synagogue?
No, you got to do some research and find out.
Okay.
But, I mean, for one thing, Jews, we're not like big about advertising our locations or
It's not like
you
you've ever
know,
had a hard history.
yeah, it's really different from being Christian. I mean,
Yes.
it's extreme minority
Yes.
religion and a dominant culture that says that we killed Jesus, and so therefore, Jews are the devil.
Right,
So it's like that's the
right.
kind of attitude that Jews have had to live with for a long time, and it's.
It's
There's
unfortunate.
actually a really good book written by this Catholic priest called Constantine Sword. And in the book, he argues that, the Catholic Church needs to remove, there's parts of the Christian Bible that are so specifically anti-Semitic
Yes.
that they really help to shape attitudes in Europe, which led directly to the Holocaust.
Wow.
And that at some point, Christianity really needs to look at the language that it's preserved in its sacred texts
Right.
and consider if some of it's anti-Semitic and maybe consider changing its text. Now, good luck with that, but it's a book, and it traces the history of that all the way back to the time of Constantine and the role that Constantine played in helping to shape the narrative. So.
Right.
But my favorite book, as long as I'm rambling on about Christianity, my favorite book, which has absolutely no credential, no fans in like the mythicist community or within like religious studies, is Caesar's Messiah by Robert Atwell, which is this really great book that theorizes that the Gospels were kind of written by Titus Flavius and Josephus, and that they were specifically written to try to reform Judaism so that Judaism wouldn't be such a kind of antagonistic religion to the Roman Empire, and that it would kind of be more
Fascinating.
yeah, it's a really interesting book, but the mythicists just think it's total BS. So I love it. It's one of my favorite books.
Okay. You have the radio show. You have this beautiful history with Judaism. We have a lot of our listeners that are here in Portland. If somebody wants to check out your show, or if somebody wants to, do you want to do some shout outs?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can listen to us on KBOO. We're Transpositive PDX on KBOO. We play every other Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
AM or PM?
6 p.m.
Okay.
At 90.7 FM on KBOO. You can also hear us online at kboo.fm. You can just click on the Listen tab, or you can find us online at kboo.fm/transpositive.
Right.
And that's where we have all of our archives for the last 10 years of programming.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, I don't know that I want to say shout out about Judaism, but is there something about that you would say, hey, here's a really good place if you want to start and
Oh, gosh.
I don't want to say
I
drop
know.
the name and location of your synagogue.
Yeah.
So-
That's a good question. Where would you start with something like that? I would say there's what's his name? There's this, I'm trying to think for the queer thing. I read,
You think
I'm
Tora
not sure.
Bora was Jewish?
yeah,
The what?
there's,
Tora Bora.
I'm just gonna say yeah.
Isn't there?
who's Tora Bora?
Isn't it like a site or a city or something like that? Tora Bora.
Tora Bora.
Yeah. I don't know.
No.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It just
I-
popped in my head. I had to ask. I threw off everything you were just saying.
No, yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that second question. I mean, if you want to learn about Judaism,
Yeah.
you're welcome to come check us out. We're Shir Tikva is part of the East Side Jewish Commons. We're at 2420 Northeast Sandy Boulevard.
Oh, you really threw it out.
Okay.
over
works.
over on the east side.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of stuff that happens all week long. There's classes, there's films, there's concerts. Because our space we share our space with about 20 other Jewish organizations who are, do all kinds of things in the community.
Yeah.
And our synagogue is part of that center. So you're also welcome to drop in and join us for Torah study on Shabbat.
That's Friday nights, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Shabbat. That's Saturday morning.
Saturday
Yeah,
morning.
it starts on Friday night, but we
You
do
have
Torah
something
study on
Friday
Saturday
night.
morning, yeah. But if you wanted to learn more about us, just check us out online. Shir Tikva. I think it's Shir Tikva PDX.
Okay.
is the name of I think
.com,
that's our
.org?
website. I'm not sure.
Okay. It's
But,
one
yeah,
of
that's
them.
where you
Try
can
all
find
the
us.
try all the
Or
things.
just look us up. Yeah, we're part of the East Side Jewish Commons, so
Okay.
you can definitely find us there.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This
Thank
has been
you.
fascinating
Yeah, it's
for
been
me.
great. Really
yeah,
nice. Yeah, I
I've-
really enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed it. I learned a lot.
Great.
I mean,
Well, I hope I didn't completely misrepresent Judaism. I probably did.
I think you did fine.
We'll see.
No.
If I hear from somebody, they're like, "No, that is not true. That's total BS." Then I'll know.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We can do a second episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for coming. We've loved
Great.
having you.
It's
This
been
is
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it. Your story, I think, is inspirational for a lot of people because you came out at a time that it wasn't something you're seeing every day.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also inspirational to see that hey, there's people in media and other things, and you can actually you can use as a role model almost to help find yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thanks.
Yeah. So again, thank you for coming on. We
Yeah.
really
Thanks for having
appreciate
me on.
it.
It's been great.
Yeah. Barry, you want to do your normal shout outs for us?
You can find us on.
You.
You can. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, generally all the socials. You can also email Daphne, at Daphne@transplainingpodcast.com. And we also need to, make another shout out that we have merch. And
Yeah.
you should check out our store. And we just really appreciate all the listeners and all the support that we've had. And we definitely like, hearing from you in emails.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I had three different events with people this week chasing me down to go, oh my God, we love your show. Like I had someone
Yeah, that's
catch me in
special.
the grocery store parking lot. There was someone in the bar. We were talking to the lady
Yeah.
and she came and talked to us. And then there was someone driving down the road like 2 days ago. And I swear to God, they chased me down while we're
great.
driving, and they rolled their window down alongside me and, thumbs up,
Thumbs
we
up,
love your
yeah.
podcast. And I was like, oh my God.
That is so great.
It was, yeah. So, it's growing. So please like, subscribe, share.
Like, subscribe, and share.
And put your comments in there because we love it.
Yes.
We asked a question the other week and said, hey, what is your favorite something? And then I don't think we ever had a comment, but
Oh,
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
We'll do it this way. What's your favorite candy? Put that in the comments.
Candy.
Candy.
And I think, lastly, as always, welcome to
Welcome
the family.
to the family.